we're going to look at the standards table in DDA or DDE, whichever you use. I'm going to use DDA just because that's what I'm most familiar with and have bookmarked. But if you're worried about making changes or anything, go into DDE so that it doesn't mess anything up. But I have my DDA bookmarked, so I'm going to go ahead and go to that. And you'll see table 53 is the standards table. And in my standards table, I have 1,460 standards because we have done so many changes, and year by year we just get more and more added. So that is the table, and those are my records. We'll go ahead and look at one of those records just so you can see what it looks like. And here you can see is very similar to what you would see in that spreadsheet. These things are lined up with a name, description, level, identifiers, calculation parent. And I'm going to go grab one here, and we'll just do, I want one that starts with the E because I know all of my recent ones are the E dot whatever. So I'm going to look at this one. This isn't a Common Core, but that's okay. Here, this looks almost identical to what you see when you list the standards. And one thing I want to point out is this unused one, and this is where I figured this out through DDA, was that there is a field that is not shown on your list view when you go to standards. It's just only here on this side. So this is where you'll find that unused one. This one I don't actually have anything saved in my unused one. But if I go back here and if I look at the unused one and make it greater than 0, well, we can look at that and see I've got 935 of those. And if I pick one of these, you'll see here's the date that I imported, 8/29 of 2014. And all that allows me to do, I'm going to go ahead and copy that. And let's say you import a bunch on a certain day and you think, oh, I messed up all of those. The one thing you can do to grab them all is do unused equals and paste in your date. And I can search for those, and now that brings me 687 records that I imported on that day. So I can at least say, hey, those were completely wrong. Now I can delete all of those. Just kind of on a side note, when you start using standards, this standards table is completely blank. So if you're wanting to just import and try things out and see what happens, you can always import them and then go back in and just wipe out that whole table if you don't have any data tied to it. Now I know some people have data already tied to standards if it's something that they did, you know, let's say 5 years ago before you got here or something like that. So definitely don't wipe it out in that instance, but if you're starting fresh, it's something that you can do. And so you'll see all those in there, and I don't use DDA a lot unless I'm going to go in and be able to, if I need to make some mass changes to things, if I need to grab everything that is that has an identifier of, let's say, 1.nbt, and then if I copy that, I can go back into DDA and I can find the identifier that contains that. And so then I can narrow it down to 14, and if I needed to go change, you know, the type or something, which I wouldn't change the type, but that's just throwing that out there. It's another way of grabbing them with something common. If you don't use DDA, your only other option is to go into district and in standards and list standards, and you can see them all this way. So you can go in and make modifications to your standards outside of DDA. It's just a way of being able to do it with, you know, more at a time. If you have one standard that needs to, you know, I spelled the word number wrong, then I might go in here and just change that there. So that gives you a little explanation about using DDA and the different fields that are there.